Okay, welcome back to days 10 to 12 in the Gladiator series where I'm trying to become a really good bruiser, and I'm starting off with dueling to start with. And so, if you want to see my plan, I'll put it in one of my previous videos, the first in the Gladiator series, so go watch that and I'll explain everything for you. So, today is day 10, and this seemed to be the day of comebacks, where I always seem to pull my dueling sessions back to victory at the last moments. So I'll sort of try to make that the theme for at least day 10 anyway. So here I was fighting Doe ranks. We'd been having some pretty even fights. Up till that point he was ahead 8-6, and then something just seemed to click for me, and then I ended up winning 14-10. So I actually won the next 8 fights and got it back to 14-10. So, and if I remember rightly, I just slow things down. I swear, every time I just slow things down, you've got to get it in the right headspace, so it feels very unnatural. But when I just slowed things down, I controlled the fight a lot better, and then it just showed in the win. So, same again with this guy. I actually won the first 3 fights, and oh, ran myself out of stam there. That's not very good. So I won the first 3 fights pretty easy. You can see that I'm dodging where I need to be dodging, and other than running out of stam, just building up that Mauler's Fury. But you can see here I'm not going as I am sort of rushing my attacks a little bit. Got him in a stun there. The little charge light attack combo, get him with my final hit of the Maelstrom, which is the most important thing. But you can see now he's starting to go for his heavy attacks, right? Which is like my Achilles heel right now. I just don't quite know how to deal with it. So then he switches it up a little bit and starts doing a lot more heavy attacks on me. And it actually brings the fight back to equals. So I win the first 3 fights, and then he wins like quite a lot more than me. There I am running out of stam again. I just don't know how to I don't know how to handle heavy attacks. So he kind of, yeah, brings it back to an equal number of fights. I just take so much damage from heavy attacks, and I seem to be hit by it every time, so I'll figure it out at some point. So he brings it back to even, but then I win the last 3 fights to bring it to 8-6. So the strategy I adopt is because he's heavy attacking so often, it was actually quite easy for me to stay on his back, which is something I figured out later. So I'm always trying to kind of make sure that I'm behind him, and because he's heavy attacking, it's easier for me to move around him than it is for him to move around me. So I think that kind of threw him off guard a little bit, and then I was able to get those wins and come back, kid, karma chameleon. Then I was fighting Gold Droga, and man, did we have a lot of fights. We did a total of 24, 30, 44 fights, and it was really even. I'm pretty sure we were dead tied, and I just couldn't deal with it because he's improved so much. I used to be able to beat it. He uses armor breaker, and I used to be able to beat him when he had it, but he was just smashing me a lot of the times with armor breaker, like you see here. So I was like, this will not stand. I cannot have this happen. So I switched over to Armor Breaker just for this dueling session because I wanted to see if that changed things. It definitely did, because I ended up winning 26-18. So when I got Armor Breaker on, I was able to win, like basically gain 10 fights on him, because it was pretty much a dead even at that point. So that just kind of shows how good Armor Breaker is, really. I don't like to use Armor Breaker because I would never use it in a war or in an OPR or anything like that, so I guess for me it's a little bit like I like to use my war build, so that, because I like, the whole point of Bruiser's duels is so that I can get better in wars and arenas and OPRs and, you know, learn those mechanics, whereas if I just build around to make myself better at duels, I feel like that's just kind of, I don't know, I don't get the point. But you can see that the Armor Breaker really worked for me, and I was able to win a lot more. I had my best dueling session ever with Pedro. This is a guy that usually I can't even win 10%. I've got like a 10% win ratio against him. And in this dueling session, I actually had a 42% win ratio against him. This guy's made me realize a little bit like what my style is, because I think we have similar styles. You get some people that are really fast, they move around you like a cat, and they're really aggressive, and I kind of was like wanting to be one of those guys, but one of the things I've realized is that I'm actually more like cold and calculating. I'm like kind of like a robot, and I'll just make sure that I hit all my shots, and I make sure that I just basically try to make sure I make less mistakes than you do, and then that will give me the advantage and I'll win the duels. That's basically what I'm trying to do with each of my duels, is just make less mistakes than you do, and then capitalize on your mistakes when you do make them. Remember how I said I don't know how to handle people that do heavy attacks? Well, this is like the king, the master of heavy attacking, and I fought him, and he smacked the crap out of me. I lost 10 fights in a row. I just don't know how to deal with the heavy attacks. So yeah, it just stresses me out a lot. So we'll just show this duel. So I'm like trying to dance around, but I always seem to get hit by it. And then I run myself out of stand there. He was also the master of getting stuns off. He was very tricky with getting the stuns off. And like right there, where he sort of fools you into thinking he's going for a heavy attack, and then he stuns you. I run myself out of stand there, but I'm pretty safe because he's just used both his stuns, so it's fine. I try to get him into a sneaky stun, but it doesn't quite work as well. So yeah, we had lots of really close fights, but he always just seemed to pull it back right at the last second. But this is the comeback special after all. Well, it wasn't really a comeback, but I end up winning the last fight, so I'll call it a victory. So really, I was just being really cautious to match him and obviously not be hit by any of his stuns, but also just to match his damage. And I was also bringing in some heavy attacks of my own, so it worked out quite well. Alright, let's look at it again in slow motion, see what happens. Because I'd like to see how I actually won it. So we're coming in here. Alright, so we both get our light attack off there. He dodges, but I dodge later than him, so he actually misses his attack, and then I go into a heavy attack and then manage to hit him. Okay, we both trade light attacks here, and then we both trade maelstroms. So I'm pretty much one heavy attack up on him, and you can see that my damage is a little higher than him. I then get a heavy attack off on him then, and he gets a light attack. Then I hit him there, and then I dodge his light attack. So I'm really making gains with my dodges here. Then I charge at him, get another hit. He does his maelstrom. Now my plan is just to fight in the maelstrom and not try to get away from it. But he actually does something really. He goes for the stun, so I dodge that. But then as I land, I have to take the hit from the maelstrom. But I've been doing quite a bit of damage on him while he's been doing that. So he's going for some heavy warhammer attacks. He's going for a stun. I dodge that stun. I'm really low on stamina here, so I've got to be careful. I do a heavy attack into him. So I do kind of a lot of damage. He only gets a light attack. Then I go for a stun. He dodges it, but ooh, he gets caught in it. So then I do a light attack with my warhammer off on him. And then I do another light attack because he's basically finished at this point. And then I actually do this beautiful ending right there. Look at that. Boom. So then for the next 3 fights, he wins 1 and I win 2 more. So I'd obviously figured out some strats. Sometimes it's hard when you look back at the video to look at all. I must understand, man, I do that far too much. But yeah, sometimes you look back at the video, it's hard to know exactly what you were doing. But I feel like I was adapting quite well. So even though I lost 11-3, I got 3 of those wins in like the last 4 fights. So I feel like that was a bit of a comeback. You know what I'm saying? Alright, day 10. I'm fighting Requiem. Last time I fought him, I actually lost. I had a win ratio of 40%, but this time I won 7 and he won 5, so good start to the day. we had a lot of close fights though, so that was kind of cool. I also had a massive dueling session with Bones, Brat. We've had 30 fights. I won 20, he won 10, but he's only just started dueling like, I think like a week ago. So he is getting stronger and stronger because I used to beat him pretty much. Like, his ratio against me gets higher and higher every time we fight, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest with you. He also does that little cyclone thing, which I also don't like. But I've noticed that when he does the cyclone, I'll just stun him in it. Because he's a really easy sort of shockwave then to get them in it. But anyway, I wanted to show this fight because he does the funniest end to when I kill him at the end of this fight. I've never seen anyone do this, but I thought it was hilarious. It really cracked me up for ages. And then we have Gold Droga, who has just been also improving massively. Like, I used to usually win my fights against him, but he just gets better and better every time I fight him, which is again not something I'm a big fan of. So we start this big dueling session, and we saw him in day 10, where I managed to pull it back by changing over to Armor Breaker. And the same thing kind of, well, we're going to go through some of the fights. So I win the first one, but then he proceeds to win the next 3 fights in a row. And I can tell he's just fighting a lot better. So I'm trying my usual tactic when I start to lose is I just start to slow everything down, but it seemed to be working. So at the end of this fight, it's 3-1 gold. But then I claw back the next 2 fights to make it a 3-all. But then he returns the favor with an additional 1, and then he just slams me for the next 3 fights. As you can see, some of them are quite close. But he slams me for the next 3 fights, bringing it up to 6-3. So at the end of 5 more fights, and not being able to make any, in fact, not even being able to make inroads, him pulling away by 1 more, we end the fight at a 9-5. Everything I'm trying doesn't seem to be working. So at the end of this fight, I decide, just like in day 10, I decide to switch over because he's using Armor Breaker. So to even up things a little bit, I decide to change over to Armor Breaker and see if I can reduce that lead down. Alright, so this is me fighting with Armor Breaker on now. So I was hoping to see a big change. Ooh, where am I aiming? I hope, oh, he catches me in a stun. I managed to get out of it. I get him in the Maelstrom. I just completely missed my Armor Breaker there. But I managed to get him in a stun. Put him in my Gravwell. I know it was very laggy tonight because you see how I went for my charge there? I was supposed to be going for a charged light attack, but I just charged right through him, so that's how I know it was laggy, because I was looking right at him. Alright, we both get each other in the Maelstrom. It's still pretty close, but I think I've got the advantage here. I go for the stun, but I don't catch him in it. I go for the second stun, but I do catch him in that. Just trying to line him up, I think, for the Armor Breaker. Not that I think I need it, and that's good, because I just missed it. And chuck him in my Maelstrom, dodge his attack. And just when I think things are going to go well, he wins the next 2 fights. So that takes it up to 6-11. How am I going to pull this back? That just keeps repeating itself. I win the next fight, and then I think I'm making headways, and then he wins the fight after that and wins that. So it goes up to 7-12 to old gold. But then, as we've learnt from this video today, I seem to be doing very good with my comebacks. I end up winning the next fight. And I win the next fight. I'm also playing a little ratty. Because I'm like wanting to win, obviously. Somehow managed to win this one. And then I also win the next fight. So I've brought a little closer. Now it's 10-12. So I'm closing in. Okay, so Droga comes in. He actually, and he's not. He ends up winning this fight, bringing it up to 10-13. He actually easily wins this fight. I don't know what you guys are thinking. I'm treating this like a little, almost like a little, you know, series against each other. So I hope it comes across like that. But I'm in form. So I end up winning the next 3 fights. You can also see down below that my food is running out. So I was going to end it once the food had run out. So I had that amount of time to even things up. But I wouldn't. Yeah, the last fight I win this fight. And then I win the next fight. So now we're dead even on 30 in all. So this is the last fight that we have for the night to make it the tiebreaker, essentially. So this is it, ladies and gentlemen, the final deciding fight. We're circling around each other. I go for the heavy attack but miss. I get him with my maelstrom. I don't know why I run away. I should be pressing right there because I got the maelstrom and I just armor breaker into the middle of nowhere. We both stun each other. This is quite good. And then I'm actually going for some Warhammer attacks on him. Okay, I'm building up my maelstrom now. He manages to get his maelstrom on me. I managed to get my maelstrom on him. I've definitely got the advantage right now, though. I've put more damage into him than he has into me. Try to get him into a stun. I managed to get him in a stun. I get the armor breaker on him. He gets me in a stun. He's got a lot of damage to come back from, though. I think it's GG. For GD. Alright, day 11. Alright, day 12 wasn't the best day. I fought Pedro, who I never have a very good win rate against anyway, but this one was even worse. I didn't win at all. In 5 fights, he won every single one of them, and this is a pretty classic of how it went. It just felt like I was doing no damage to him, so we'll go do a slow motion one after this, because let's see what he's doing to me. Alright, so I come in. We're both going for a heavy attack. He hits, and I hit. He dodges. I dodge, but he manages to hit me. But then he dodges again, and then he dodges my hit. Okay, then he does a maelstrom, and I don't dodge the final attack, and I do a light attack on him, but he dodges that. We both then trade blows. I'm going for a stun because I'm getting panicky, but he obviously dodges that and then hits me in the back. But then he charges out of there, and then I stupidly decide to do my maelstrom, so I completely miss that. Then I try to catch him in a Gravwell. Yes, I've named it right. I realized that before I was calling it a maelstrom. I try to charge in. I hit him. And then I dodge behind him, and he goes to hit, but he hits air, and then I manage to hit him again. So it's 2 attacks I managed to get off on him. He does hit me back just there, and then he dodges my attack, so we're running. So he hits me in my back, quite a bit of damage. So yeah, I mean, I'm in massive trouble here. You can hear my keys clicking. I try to stun him there, but he hits me. He's clearly outplayed me, but he's also hitting me a lot harder than I'm hitting him. So I don't know what I'm wearing for my gear. Here, I'll put up something. This was the damage that we did to each other over this fight. I know he's a completely legit guy, so it's nothing shady, but like, what the hell? Like, how come I'm doing so much more less damage and he's doing so much more? It's like crazy. I'll talk to him. I get along really well with him. That's why I know he's legit, so I'll ask him. I'll show this to him and I'll come back to you with why that might be. I think it might be the Mauler's Fury. If you look at this fight, he's hitting me for the same amount of damage to start with. Like if you look at the red, but then his just builds up. he's not hitting me for any more here. So either he was just getting lucky with crits, but you can see his damage is starting to build up as this Mauler's Fury builds up. And because he's hitting me way more often, it really stacks up. So I'm thinking that's probably why. Anyway, friends, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you for the next update. Bye. Pedro, stop being a bully.